Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of What's Your Next. I'm Stacy Riska, your lifestyle and franchise matchmaker, here to help you do what you love and love what you do. My guest today was an Olympic swimmer who flexed his entrepreneurial muscles and took a $10,000 advance on his credit card to start a business called Studio Pilates. No business plan, just vision, grit, and determination.
Welcome to What's Your Next. This is the go-to podcast for aspiring business owners who want to get to the next level, escape the rat race, and give their middle finger to the corporate 9-to-5. If you want financial freedom, work-life balance, and the business of your dreams, you're in the right place. Dave and Stacy Riska, husband-wife franchising duo, openly share their successes, failures, and lessons learned in franchising, business ownership, and working with your spouse.
Well, that one studio has now turned into a global franchise brand with over 120 studios open across 6 countries. Their growth is phenomenal. Just in 2024, the brand grew member visits by 29%, sales by 36%, and launched 20 new studios. Who is this super Pilates franchise guru? Welcome, Jade Winter, to the show. Welcome,
Wow,
Jade.
thank you, Stacey, for that incredible introduction. Now I'm hoping to live up to that expectation there. That was incredible.
Your background is incredible. Let's start there because nobody wakes up today and says, hey, I want to start a Pilates franchise, but you did. So, what gap did you see in the market that said, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And look, for me, it was extremely organic. Our very first studio, something that we ultimately just fell into. Myself and my wife started that studio. And, we just had a real passion for helping people. We loved Pilates as a workout. She was a physical therapist and had been exposed to it through that journey. I was a pro swimmer, made the Australian swim team. Multiple times, and used it as a cross-training tool for performance enhancement for that sporting type of thing. And you know what, everything just aligned, and we started very humble. Stacey, that had no money, that, as you mentioned, that $10,000 credit card advance, couldn't get a personal loan, couldn't get any financing to start up and buy a couple of Pilates machines, some reformers. So we bootstrapped everything, and you know what? We just focused on every single customer walking through the door. We gave them our very best workout that we could, and just kept on grinding. It just kept on grinding for close to a decade. And in that time, I personally instructed 50,000 classes and simply just focused on, doing the absolute best that I could for the customer. Our business has always been customer focused, that customer experience, and that's what we've always focused on since the start. And then over time, the demand grew for, within the franchising space. I had a big vision. I wanted to expand the company, and I wanted to, I guess, spread the gospel, see more people doing the workout that we were delivering. And the most logical way for us to do that was through franchising. So that dream was born. As opposed to like corporate growth, my vision was way bigger than that. So our vision for the business is to see 1 million people per week changing their lives and bodies through the Studio Pilates workout experience. So in order to do that, we need at least 2,000 studios open and operating. And again, trying to corporately manage 2,000 studios, I didn't think that was the right way to go. Instead, it took the the journey through franchising and empowering other people, from all walks of life to be able to experience business ownership doing something that is fulfilling ultimately at the end of the day. There are plenty of businesses out there, but are they fulfilling? Are you passionate about dry cleaning? Are you passionate about cleaning gutters or roofs or, painting or whatever it may be? If you are, that's fantastic. However, if you're passionate about Pilates, when we started, there weren't really any Pilates franchises out there. And so that systemization of the business, all of the training programs, all critical and helping people from everyday walks of life, every background, whether you're from a corporate high flyer to a stay-at-home mum, so anyone can learn the business, learn how to become a great instructor, and all of the systems and infrastructure and training support that. So, and that really fills me up, because we had to learn so many lessons the hard way when we first started. So many lessons the hard way. Made so many mistakes. Made them all, Stacey. And and felt all those pain points that business owners do, and business owners within our category, that boutique fitness space, feel when they're not part of a franchise. And so, I had a real passion for, and still do have an absolute passion for, helping people to avoid those mistakes, to try and avoid those pain points that frustrated the absolute hell out of me. And so, I wanted to make that path smoother for other people, because hey, like, I'm not that smart, Stacey. And so I wanted to just, make it easy for anyone, that does not have that experience of instructing 50,000 classes and a decade of experience before we even franchised, and give them the roadmap, the skills, the infrastructure, the everything that I was lacking and that I'd long dreamed for. So it's really, fulfilling to be able to then provide that to people from, like I said, from any background.
Amazing what you've done, and so much that you relayed in that intro. It's clear you have a passion about this, and you as well graduated from the School of Hard Knocks. I think anybody who goes into business does. That's why I do what I do as well, to help people. I share my background and experiences so that hopefully they won't make those same mistakes. But it's also clear you're all about helping the community, and you said something very clear, which is, as my wall says, do what you love and love what you do. You got to have a passion about it. And it's clear that for you, it wasn't just, oh, well, I opened a Pilates studio so I could make a lot of money. You did it to make an impact. And so I'm curious now, going back into your past, you were an Olympic swimmer. So I'm curious how your Olympic background, how did that change your mindset that might have then fueled or helped your business success? Did it have anything to do with it?
Yeah, great question. So many lessons from sport translate over to not only real, just life in general, but particularly in business. Some of the key things that really come to mind in that journey is you got to put in the work in order to get a result. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't expect, you've got to train, you've got to turn up to practice every day. And then maybe after 5, 10, 15 years of turning up to practice every day, maybe twice a day, then you get maybe selected for that team. You get on that lacrosse team or the soccer team or whatever your sporting thing is. You can't expect to just be on that team without putting in the work. That's sweat equity, so that was a really big learner for me. Also, things like, training smarter and harder. you know Same thing. Working smart and hard is a critically important thing. Getting advice from other people when you need it. So if in the sporting realm, having a coach, having, physical therapists, massage therapists, strength and conditioning trainers, all of those things to make you the best. Same thing in business, getting some, advice from other people along the way, and having a mentor, and working on oneself is all critical and all important. And also as well with swimming, and most sports, you can put in the work, but the result, you got the opportunity to have a result, but it's not guaranteed, you
Yeah.
know. And it's the same thing with business. You can put in all the work, you can do things right, but it's not guaranteed that you'll win. It's not guaranteed that you'll succeed. And so you've got to enjoy the journey along the way, enjoy all of the lessons that business brings and all those skills that you develop along the way. And, hopefully that you win at the end. And if you're doing things right, 9 times out of 10, you're going to do that. And it's really rewarding to see. So, there's so many lessons working as part of a team, leadership, all of those things, all are, sport gives you I guess, the exposure to it, and particularly at a young age. And those lessons, I think, helped me form who I am, and also my approach and philosophy to business. And like I said, grit, determination, dedication, sacrifice. These are all things that are in an elite athlete's vocabulary, and not only vocabulary, they do that every day, and that is just part of the process. So, business is no different.
You are absolutely right. Because many people looking in from the outside, they'll be like, "Oh, he's so successful. It's just so easy." Or when you watch the Olympic athletes on TV, I'm always mesmerized. They make it look so easy. I love the ice skating. I'm like, "Oh my God, look how easy they just twirl and it makes it so easy, right?" But as you said, they are putting in the hours, the grit, the grind. How many times have they fallen? How many legs have they broken, right? You don't realize what's going on behind the scenes to get to where they got today. And same with you. Somehow I don't think that you just miraculously woke up one day and had 120 Pilates studios. You mentioned that, you started with a small cash advance off of your credit card. So kudos to you for having the grit, right? It wasn't like mama gave you a wind whirl of cash and said, "Oh, honey, go start a franchise." So talk a little bit about that. How do you start a business when you don't have a lot to start with?
Yeah, for me, it was just, I just analyzed what the costs were, to getting started. Just got, how else? How do I put this? It was very low risk, and I knew that if I put in the sweat equity, if I put in the hours,
Mhm.
then I'd be able to cover my costs, because I knew that I wouldn't have any labor costs. I wasn't planning on hiring anyone back then. It was just myself and my wife, and we were just like, we were going to be the labor force of this business, and wasn't needed. Nobody else was needed at that stage. And I had, yeah, it was, already had a little bit of what we call Pilates mat work out in the community, teach some classes in some local things, and local places. I knew that a few of those clients would come and see us. So for me, it was like, it was a big leap because I had no money,
Yeah.
to do that. However, at the same time, I was young, I didn't have any other commitments, and I knew that if I just rolled up the sleeves and I got it done, then no, that's no problems. I could even if it went bad, I could recover. I could dig myself out of any hole that I put myself into. And that, I think that comes again from being exposed to, elite athletes. As a youngster, you don't start at a high level. Do you know what I mean? You come up through the ranks as you get older, as you get fitter, right? And so when you're coming up through those ranks, you see the guys that are already at the top. You see those people that are already breaking world records, Olympic Games. And I was fortunate and blessed enough to be able to be in some of the same training squads, like the training groups, as some of those pro athletes in the same swimming, I guess, groups, training squads, we call them. And so, we'd be around these people, and you realize that they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like everyone else does. You know, and you get to observe what they do. You get to observe how they do things and the daily disciplines that they go through and they do in order to be at that elite level. And so, if and I did the same things as they did, and then over time, got better. Same philosophy with business. When I started, it was very organic. Hey, if other people can do it, I can do it too. Maybe that was a little overconfident. I don't know. But again, the entry level was low, the risk level was low. I knew that I could dig myself out of any hole that I put myself in, financially. And so, it was like, all right, let's give this a go, and let's work like hell in order to make it successful. And then after that, of course, then the ambition grew, and then, we discovered that, we did things a little differently, and we wanted to spread that message to the far corners of the world, which is what we're doing now.
Yeah, I'm curious about that because I can see how your background in sports contributed to your success with that first studio that you opened. But
Mm.
then what? How did you get to the point of making this a scalable brand? How did you get to two, and what made you decide to franchise this?
Yeah, great question. For us, the road to franchising was we brought on one of our clients, one of our customers, was like a business coach, and I had this ambition but didn't know how to get there, and so I hired her, and just started to talk about these things, and she would give me some clues, some hints, some tips here and there, but mainly a lot of it just came from reading, reading business books, reading a whole bunch of stuff, and really just thinking, how can I scale this? And so for me, the way that I did things in that first business, there were some real fundamental challenges and issues with the operating model in order for it to scale. And so, always constantly think, I want to get big, but this way is going to be difficult. And so we had to reinvent the business. We had to reinvent the way things were done. And so what we did then, rather than it just being an instructor instructing a class, I then changed the model to be television screens that visually demonstrate via video how to do the exercise, and combine that with an audio voiceover explaining how to do the exercise. And so that then freed the instructor up to then be able to get hands-on with the customer and make sure that the customer's technique was perfect, their resistance was correct for them, and that the customer was safe. And what that did was it enabled an instructor to be able to go from just having a small group to having a larger group, which meant it's then more people can access it, and the cost of a class was lower, and we still maintained that personal connection and feel that Pilates is synonymous for. So, but of course, there were so many challenges along the way, and particularly in that first business, staffing was really difficult. And so what we did, we went about creating training programs, instructor training programs, and that, because ultimately, with a franchise network, you need training. Right. So we talk about, systems, but what really there is, there's a very different thing between like a computer program system versus a training program for people. And look, Stacey, we are in the people business.
Yeah.
And as a franchisor, we are in the adult education business as well. We're teaching adults how to operate a business, and how to instruct Pilates, how to lead their team, how to manage people, how to promote that business. Again, it's about, yes, there are systems and things, but mainly we're in the adult education business. We're teaching people how to operate a business. And so that's what we focus on. So much of our business is centered around training, that, academy, Studio Pilates Academy, not only just on that instructing, like I said, all of those other skills, because we know that, it's not just about our core product. And Stacey, at Studio Pilates, we realized that our core product is not necessarily Pilates classes, it's actually our instructors.
Mm-hmm.
So we heavily invest in our instructors and that instructor training, and we actually centralize it. So our franchisees don't train their instructors. We do the heavy lifting on that. And we do that centrally through a training academy at all of our different venues around the globe. And then the franchisee simply just continues to mentor them and grow their skills. So that, I guess, people pipeline is critically important to scale. And it's also, it's a major headache for most business owners. Like you'll talk to a business owner and they'll say, "Oh, what's your biggest challenge?" They go, "Oh, it's finding good staff." That was us. That was me. I complained about that ad nauseam. I complained about that ad nauseum, until I went, you know what, I've got to solve this problem. If I want to scale this business, I've got to solve this problem for myself and also, in our original location, but also for every future franchisee that comes along. And the only way that we can do that is to create a robust training program that arms our franchisees and instructors, our staff, with the skills to be able to deliver world-class workouts. Full stop. So that's what we focused on. We spent many, many years developing that training program and continue to, enhance it and add more things to it each and every year, and gets better and better. So that's, a constant evolution for us is training and people.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're in the people business.
You're in the people business, and it's clear your franchise, it's a business in a box. And so you're getting the systems, the tools, the training, the technology, and you've been building it over time. So I can see where, that is the point of a franchise. You're not starting from scratch. Like, you've made all the mistakes so everybody else doesn't have to. But I'm curious, as you grew and scaled this now across borders into other countries where the dynamics could be so different, what did you have to deal with in that regard?
Yeah, great question. And again, what we find is that the Pilates consumer is the same globally. They appreciate the same things. And so for us, it hasn't been a big challenge besides, different, I guess, rules of the game, regulations and local, that's always an exciting new learning curve. However, at the coalface, at that point of interaction of what we call the Studio Pilates magic, and the Studio Pilates magic is where the value that's exchanged between our instructors and our guests. And if the guests are getting great value for their class, then for the time and their money that they spend with us, then they'll keep on coming back and the whole business grows. And we understand that that's the driving engine of our entire organization. And so the cross-border, we find that the customer still values the same things. They value a great workout. They value being able to understand the workout, not being bamboozled by a move or a class, that their confidence builds and grows through every single exercise, every single repetition, every single class that they do. They realize that because it is achievable, we're not asking, one of the differences with Studio Pilates and other forms of Pilates is we've eliminated a whole bunch of, fancy exercises from the category or the catalog of exercises that we provide to our customers. So, we don't get our customers to bend like a pretzel. We keep it simple and we keep it very intense and very focused intentionally. And what that does, it really helps that our customer and our guests to build strength, to build confidence, because ultimately you want to come in and do a class and feel confident when you leave, not be feeling embarrassed or underconfident or, sidelined if you can't do an exercise or a move. Instead, in our classes, you can do every exercise. And if you can't do one, the instructor's right there, ready to help you to give you a different exercise. So, all of these things really create a really warm, welcoming, and positive environment. And our franchisees love delivering that, and our customers love receiving that. And so then, it becomes it's a really positive space to be in. And again, like I said, Stacey, super fulfilling for both of our instructors and for our franchisees. It's just something that is heartwarming because we get to change and make a true impact on people's lives. And this is not a cliche. This is not lip service. And I know this because I've been there. When you've got customers that come up to you and say, "Thank you for bringing this business to the neighborhood. It has changed my life."
Wow.
We get that every single day. Our franchisees get that all the time. And so do our instructors. And it's extremely fulfilling to hear that, that that what you're providing is transformative and truly life-changing for them. And they tell you, oh yeah, this is, when I first started, I had such a sore back. It stopped me from doing X, Y, and Z. Now I can hike that mountain, go on that holiday, physically pick up my grandkids or, whatever it may be, they tell you these things. And again, it's just, it really touches the soul.
Kudos to you, Jade. It's clear you've built a business that is so customer experience driven. And you gave so many great examples of that. You're transforming lives. So I'm curious about the owner side of things. Who makes a good Pilates, the Studio Pilates owner? They don't have to do the pretzel, so that's good to know. But what do they do or don't have to do? What makes a good owner in your franchise system?
Just one that is present in the business, that has a passion for people, who, what we're not interested in, Stacey, is people who just want to be the boss. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here's a business. I'm going to go out and play golf, or I'm going to go and play, tennis or something. We're just not interested in that. What we look for is people that want to learn that business, learn every nuance of it, experience it, and grow it, And so we've got franchisees that are incredibly successful, and it's because they love the product, they love what they do, they love leading people, and and that is a great thing ultimately at the end of the day. And what's what we look for. So people who are passionate about helping others, who
Yeah.
want to be focused on the business, who don't have that boss mentality. And we have one of our core values at Studio Pilates is that everybody changes light bulbs. No one is bigger than the team.
Okay.
So you roll up the sleeves and get things done. So that is one of our core values. And so that's what we look for. We look for people who are not afraid of getting in there and getting on the phone and selling to a customer. They're sweeping the shed, sweeping the floors. I do it. I expect everybody to do it. There is no hierarchy in a Studio Pilates studio. There is leadership at every level, and there is it is all focused on that customer experience. And so that's how we've done it. That's how we've always done it. And look, maybe that's just the Australian coming out of me, maybe that's the, because I've done every job in the entire organization before at every level. And so, it's, we don't have that boss mentality, and we have that, that organic get in there and experience the business, learn the business, be part of it. And
Yeah.
that's what we love to see. Now, I'm not saying that our franchisees are tied to their business. A business, in my opinion, is a profitable commercial enterprise that can work without the owner if the owner chooses to go on holidays.
Mhm.
If owner wants to go away for a month to Italy and experience the Italian countryside, they should be able to do that, right? But that only comes through mastery of the business, great systems, great people, great leadership, great management, So, that's what we look for.
You're looking for someone who can work on the business, not in the business, right? They're not the ones teaching the class per se.
They can be, and we really experience a lot of that. We like to see that, because again, it helps to you once you're a great instructor. And don't get me wrong, everybody starts off and they finish here, right? There is obviously a learning journey there. But we love to see our instructors learn that skill, because then they can lead and mentor their team, and they can continue to nurture their team. And, that's a big part of that business as well. So no, we do not expect our franchisees to be exclusively being the only instructor. They develop a team of instructors around them. But it's important that they get that skill. And it's a mandatory part of the training that you learn how to become an instructor.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, the health and wellness space, that whole category, it's just growing, blossoming. People care more about their mental and physical health today. And I think that's a trend that's going to continue. On the other side, it seems like it's also can be very competitive. So what makes Studio Pilates so different, especially in the boutique space? Like, why should somebody consider this franchise over all the others in the health and wellness space?
Yeah, great technical question there. Most boutique franchises compete for the 20 to 35-year-old demographic,
Mhm,
the people who are already fit,
mhm.
right? And then when there's only so many of those in the marketplace and they're all like swapping between the
That's
different
right.
right? So it becomes really, competitive and it becomes, they're all competing for the same customer. Now we service that part of the market, but our customer is also so much different to that as well. We attract so many different demographics that the possibilities are endless, right? We've got customers that are, yeah, sure, 20, but we've got customers that are 85, right? And we've got everyone in between, from elite level athletes, the world record holders, Olympians, pro, through to people that have never exercised before. There might be a 65-year-old female who has never stretched, never done a workout, never even walked around the block, around the neighborhood for exercise, have never even done anything, and they attracted to us and they find their thing with us. So that's a really beautiful thing as well, to see someone go from having never exercised to then falling in love with exercise, and that's again a transformative journey. So we've got it doesn't matter whether you're a pro athlete, extremely deconditioned, to anyone in between. We can service anyone, because our workouts meet you where you are in your fitness journey. And so that is a really important thing as well. A lot of other Pilates brands will have like leveled classes, like beginners, intermediate, or advanced, and that sort of thing. We've got what we call our universal class format, where people from any fitness level can come in and experience a workout, because it's so modular, it's so adaptable to the participant, to where they are at in their fitness journey. Like I said, whether they're here, or anywhere in between, we've got you. We can help you.
Jade, it is so impressive what you have built. And somehow I know that you're not done yet. You're still swimming laps and you're nowhere near stopping. But I know my audience is clamoring to know, like, how can they get in touch with you? How can they learn more? What would be a next for somebody who's listening or watching this episode?
Yeah, for sure. Jump on studiopilates.com and click on our franchising link. Pop your details in there, and one of our team will reach out to you and have a conversation and tell you what's involved with getting into the brand. And as well, try a class. We've got many studios globally, including in the US. So if you want to check out one of our classes, we've got a great introductory offer, 6 classes for $60. So you can get in there and experience a class and see if it's the right fit for you. But yeah, jump online, studiopilates.com.
Great, Jade. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that offer and your contact information with my audience. It has been a delight connecting with you and learning more about Studio Pilates. It's just so impressive what you've built from one little studio with a credit card and what you've built today, this global empire. I always ask this question at the end because the name of the podcast is What's Your Next? So Jade, what is your next, and or what's the next for Studio Pilates?
Yeah, great. Thanks. We're just fulfilling our mission, and our mission is to change the way the world works out. It's really simple. We want to see Studio Pilates in more neighborhoods across more states, cities, countries. And so, if listeners are into that, if they want to be part of that, then we'd love to hear from you.
Great. Jade, thank you for coming on, sharing your story. It's just so inspirational to my audience out there. I really encourage you to connect with Jade. Reach out to me. I can also put you in touch with him, do some matchmaking. I'm sure that you want to learn more about this exciting franchise concept. To my audience and all my listeners and viewers, thanks for being here today. We'll see you on the next episode of What's Your Next. Bye-bye.